more Gators Breakdown? Join Gators Breakdown Plus. Starting at $3 a month, get access to unique episodes, plus a blog, chat room, giveaways, shout-outs, and more. Gators Breakdown Plus is furthering the interaction with fans and listeners like you. Head to gatorsbreakdown.supportingcast.fm to join Gators Breakdown Plus today. Gators Breakdown, because there's never a dull moment in Gator Nation.
All right, something different here, bringing you guys. Going to give you a preview of the Gators Breakdown Plus member episode that we cut last week. And I'm telling you, if you want to take part in one of these, Gators Breakdown Plus is the way to go. There's 3 tier levels: general support, get involved, and total access. Total access will give you a chance to record a Gators Breakdown Plus episode that you're about to get a preview of here with Steve. A really good episode. And look, that's what these things are going to be about. They're going to be to get your thoughts on what's happening in Gators football. And we'll do a little bit of background on you. We'll get to know you as a Gator fan. We'll discuss all the hot topics surrounding the Gator football team, and some fun questions at the end here. There's fun questions, uniforms, favorite games, favorite players, favorite teams, all that kind of stuff. That's toward the end, so you won't get that in the preview, but no, that's going to be part of a total access member episode on Gators Breakdown Plus. So I'm going to show you that guy. We're going to show that video, or you're going to listen to it on your podcast platform. If you're on the YouTube version, you can check it out. There's the graphic there of everything you get. But the total access does get you a chance to record a Gators Breakdown Plus episode that you're going to hear here for the next few minutes. Everybody, thanks for all the support, and you guys are doing great in supporting Gators Breakdown Plus. Really looking to extend that even more. All the content that's been out there on YouTube, all the thoughts of the day on Gator. There's another one on Gators Breakdown Plus as well, so that's another benefit as well as far as an extra episode goes. So, all right, that we'll do it here for this intro, and enjoy this preview of a member episode. All right, here we are on Gators Breakdown Plus, and look, it's the first one we're doing like this. I am the host of Gators Breakdown, David Waters. Of course, you can find me on Twitter at GatorDave_SEC, but this is the first Gators Breakdown Plus total access member episode. So thanks to Steve Kaufer, BULLGATOR, as you may know him on the Discord server, on Twitter. Steve, I believe BULLGATOR on some message boards out there too, right?
Oh, yeah. 24/7, Gator Country, and a couple others. Some that you get through I don't know, one way or another, but usually if it's BULLGATOR, it's usually me.
Sounds good. Yeah, man, first of all, thanks for listening to Gators Breakdown. Thanks for listening to or becoming a part of Gators Breakdown Plus, all that good stuff. You've been active on there since Gators Breakdown Plus launched, active on the Discord, all the watch parties we've had. So first of all, thank you for all the support.
Dave, first, thank you. I love the podcast. I mean, especially during these dark days between when baseball season's not really kicking and we're waiting for football. I think we live for these podcasts, and your podcast and some of the others. They just get us through the lean parts of the year.
Yeah, man. It's when I first launched, I was like, I don't know if I can do a football only podcast, but I'm going to give it a shot. And I don't think since 2016, since it's launched, I don't know if I've missed a week, probably one here or there for vacations and stuff, but it's been a football episode every week since August of 2016.
No. I've heard, I don't know if all of them, but most of them. And I tell you, your podcast is consistently good. And so that's why when you came up with this Gators Plus, I was joined just to say thank you for nothing else, because it's given me hours and hours of entertainment and information.
Thanks, man. Thanks. So, Steve, let's get to know about you a little bit. Of course, we got to know, why are you a Gator fan?
Well, I went to the University of Florida. Actually, I was raised in Tennessee. I was a Vol fan growing up, and moved to Florida. got accepted into the University of Florida. Actually, freshman year at Tulane, then I transferred to Florida, and I loved the University of Florida. Had the best time there. Moved out to California for many years, and I had to educate a lot of folks on why SEC football is so much better than Pac-10 football. Remember, they would tell me stories like, "Oh, you don't know how scary it gets when Stanford plays Cal. Sometimes we throw frozen oranges on the field." And I'm like, "Ooh, let me tell you about what happens at the Florida Georgia game." So no, I love UF, and I've probably the best thing that ever happened to me was transferring to UF. I love the Gators, and I'm thrilled that my daughter's there right now.
Okay, so that's awesome. So it's a family affair right now then.
Absolutely.
Awesome. What's your daughter going to school for there?
Well, she was going to go to med school. Found that was a little harder than she anticipated. So I think she's either going to get her MSW or go for to be a PA, a physician's assistant.
Awesome, good stuff. So congrats to her, and congrats to you for having a little Gator.
Yeah.
There
We're
we
thrilled what you got in.
So of course, you went to Florida. There's a connection there. So when did you graduate?
I graduated in '88. I was there for Emmett's freshman and sophomore years. I actually had one class with Emmett. I was in classes with Dwayne Shinsis, Andrew Moten, for anybody who remembers him from the basketball team, M&M guys, Moten and Maxwell. I remember when we had banners in Alligator Alley that said NIT participant. So I mean that's how things have changed since I was at school at the University of Florida.
Absolutely, I see one of the best examples of that. If we'll see if I can get the video version out, but behind you is a Gator Slam poster there of the basketball and football national championships all won in that 2-3 year span there for the Gators. So 2 year span there for the Gators. So
that was incredible.
Yeah,
I tell my wife, I say, next to my child being born and the Gators winning the national championship in football and basketball the same year, meeting you was the best thing that ever happened to
me. I'm sure she loves that joke.
Loves it.
If it's a joke. So 88, you get to see Emmett, one of the best known Gators of all time. And then Steve Spurrier comes into town. And how much did that change from, Florida was known from when you were going to school, Florida was known for Emmitt Smith, and that's about it at the time, those specific years. And then Spurrier comes in and just changes and flips college football world on its head.
Well, for me, unfortunately, when I was there, one of the things that Florida was known for was probation.
Yeah.
Because there was so much we were going through. I mean, that's one of the reasons I can't stand Doug Dickey, former Gator coach. And then what happens in, was it 1990 or 90? Whatever it was, we voted against us getting the SEC championship. But anyway, it was night and day. It became from, I'd like to see the football. It'll be fun, as opposed to Emmett left, Emmett right. It was, you must see TV. You couldn't miss it because what is Spurrier going to do next? Oh my God, did you see what he just did? Did you see that play? It was such a dramatic difference from, Pell to Hall to Darnell to Spurrier. I mean, it was just like they flipped a switch. It was a whole different game.
Put Florida football on the map. Steve Spurrier did in 2 ways: 66 by winning the Heisman Trophy, and then coming there in 90 and making something of the football program, put the football program on the map for a consistent basis there. So we'll have some more fun stuff where we can kind of relive some things. I got some fun topics that we'll end this episode with, but let's get into some current stuff right here. We're talking a day after Dan Mullen receives his contract extension at the University of Florida. What was your initial thoughts there with Mullen getting that contract?
Well, if it hadn't come hand in hand with White and Neubauer getting it, I probably would have been more pleased than I was. But and I don't want to say anything negative about Mike White. I've met the guy a few times. He's one of the nicest human beings you'd ever want to encounter. But Dan Mullen, he ended the year on a 3-game losing streak. And I was like, wow, that's quite an extension. And as you pointed out, this was in the works before 2020. So it's not like this was something that was a shock. And let's face it, Dan's first 2 years were amazing. I mean, talk about flipping a switch. They flipped a switch from what we were for 10 years to what we became. So does he deserve it? Absolutely. Last year was a bad year, but it was a bad year for everybody. And I'm not going to give him a total break because it's his responsibility. Buck stops with him. So, but on the other hand, I mean, considering the timing of it, in other words, right before recruiting weekend, I think it makes a lot of sense. I don't disagree with it. A lot of things that Scott Strickland has done, I have disagreed with. That wasn't one of them.
So let me get one reason I wanted to do this. I want to get I've done this on Gators Breakdown, the normal Gators Breakdown before, but I wanted to Gators Breakdown Plus to be more of a fan-driven experience. And with these type of episodes here, I want to get the pulse of the fan base. So I want to ask you, when is it time? And it may be now, it may be coming up, it may be a year down the road, 2 years down the road. When is it okay? And this is coming from you, a certain fan perspective, to sit there and ask ourselves, when is it okay to stop comparing Dan Mullen to Jim McElwain? Like we hear for the good that Dan Mullen's done. I'm not trying to shove anything he's done. Look, I've given him plenty of credit for these first 3 years and how fun Florida football has been. But we always get, in any critique, there's a certain part of the fan base says, well, would you rather go back to Jim McElwain? Of course not. Of course not. It's been a whole lot of fun these first 3 years. But when can we move on from it was better than it was before? When does and I think it's kind of coming up this year. We hit on this last episode of Gators Breakdown. This year coming up, this is Dan Mullen's recruit. This is Dan Mullen's quarterback. He decided to keep Todd Grantham. These are his coaches that he's been around for a long time now. This is basically a coaching staff that he built in his image. When is it okay to move on from it's better than it was before?
I think it's going to take him putting his stamp on the program, winning something of note. In other words, not just the SECs, but beating Alabama and Atlanta, making it to the playoffs, winning a championship. Because until then, he's going to, I don't know that he's put his stamp on the program. Now, because a lot of people I have discussions with on the internet, and probably I have too many discussions on the internet about Gator football, gets me all riled up. But a lot of people said just that. Oh, think about it the way it was for the last 10 years. And my response is always just being better than bad or mediocre is not what we call the quote unquote Gator standard. We want to be, one of the top programs. And, Gator fans, as the expression or saying went, we have, all their tradition of Wake Forest and all the swagger of Alabama. Not quite true, but it's true. We expect probably more. Maybe we're a little spoiled, but we did have some pretty good years and pretty recently. So, we think that considering the recruiting base, considering everything else, that there's no real reason that we shouldn't at least be competing or in the conversation for championships every year, almost regardless of who the coach is. So when do I think? So back to your original question, when do I think we're going to take the name off? I think he's going to have to put his stamp on the program, and just winning 10 or 11 games is great, but stamp is going to have to be either a ring or hanging some banner somewhere. And like I said, we don't hang banners for the SEC East.
Yeah, I think we're getting to that point. Like I can say as a fan, the fan in me, yes, you're 2018, 2019. I think we can say, he was digging out from Jim McElwain and did the best he could. Did the best, 5 losses in those 2 years combined was about as good as he could do. In 2020, you still met some goals despite the ending, despite the 3-game losing streak. What do we say going into 2020? You have to beat Georgia. You have to. And he did that. And he represented the SEC East. Now, I do expect some kind of step back in 2021, but also expect, I also understand that it's a little bit of a rebuild. But like you said, now in year 4, it is, there is a part of expectations now that have to be lived up to. And
no doubt.
Look, and the contract says that as well with how much he's getting paid.
Yeah, that was some. Now that Harbaugh took the step back, he's number 4? That's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's interesting though. It's a caveat, not to break too far off. My brother-in-law is a former sportscaster in Sarasota. Huge Auburn fan. When we were looking for the coach after McElwain left, he was like, you got to hire Mullen. And I'll be honest, Mullen was like number 7 or 8 on my list of coaches. Of course, the top 2 of mine, you can guess who they were. So that weren't, what do I know? But he was like, he was very happy we picked Mullen. And after this year, though, with what happened after the Texas A&M game and some of the things that were said and done, he was like, I don't know that I was right anymore. And so there's a lot of perception with regard to Mullen from opponents, because like I said, he's an Auburn fan. It was like the shine has come off a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the fan base feels that way too after the way 2020 ended and the off-field stuff too. I guess going on and extending that message, has he lived up to your expectations so far? As you said, you weren't, I guess you probably, I don't know what your expectations were since you weren't that high on him as being as wanting him to be the coach to follow Jim McElwain. But I guess, did he meet, exceed, not meet your expectations? I know it's probably kind of mixed. Year 1 and year 2 were really good, 5 losses combined, probably exceeded the expectations. They were kind of raised in 2020 and probably fell short there.
It's hard that's a hard question to answer, because this year is still fresh in my mind. And you're only as good as your last game, and our last 3 games weren't so great. And so if you asked me the year before, I would have said fantastic. What a grand slam went higher. But you look at 2020 and you have to wonder, is all the blame at the feet of Dan Mullen? And the short answer is, after I thought about this, yeah, he's the head coach. It all falls on Dan because the buck stops with him. And, all of us are pointing the finger at Grantham. And, I'm not a football coach. I played football sometime in the Jurassic period. And so this modern game, watching it, I'm like, I recognize what they're doing, but I'm not an expert. And I recognize what he is. And that is, I think, possibly the best offensive coordinator in all of college football. Is he the best head coach? I don't know. I know he handed his defense over to somebody who I don't have the highest opinion of. I was very surprised when he kept his job after what was, in my opinion, the worst defense I've ever seen in since the early 80s watching the Gators. So it just surprised me. And a lot of people said at the end of last year that Dan Mullen is linking his star to Todd Grantham, because he's retaining him. He's got to do better. And when I say better, I don't mean, moving up from 88th to 75th. I'm talking better. I mean, I don't know about the top 20, but at least in the top 40. And because that's one of the things, even when we were good in offense with Spurrier, we were still tops in defense. That's been one of the things when they played football, when I went to University of Florida, teams did not look forward to it because they knew that they were going to get the you-know-what knocked out of them. It was a slobber knocker program. And that's been our calling card since, the 70s. And last year was, what was that? We watched every fan watched with the same thought. What are we looking at on defense? When I would see Marco, and we're talking about seniors, or Donovan Steiner, somebody like this, staring at the other guys, what do we do? I'm like, that's not an excuse because we didn't have an off season. I mean, these are seniors. They should know this. So you have to wonder, Marco wasn't a senior, was he? Was he a junior?
No, he was a senior.
Okay, well,
17 was his first year.
They should have known. So the fact that it's a hard question to answer. I want to say Muschamp handed over his offense to his offensive coordinator, but he didn't really. He held him back. But I think like Spurrier used to hand over the defense to the defensive coordinator. I think Dan's done that too. But Spurrier got rid of Bobby Pruitt. He's a good guy, good coach, won a championship at Marshall. But it wasn't until they brought in Stoops that they won the championship. And I think Dan might have to do that, but he didn't. So it's really, when you say has he lived up to expectations? Right now, No, because a good coach is a good CEO, and this is not a good CEO. And I'm not one of those people that say, "Oh, we got to fire Dan Mullen." I do not believe that. I'm still doing a wait and see. Believe me, if I can give Jim McElwain 3 years, I can give Dan Mullen a lot more than that.
I'm glad you said wait and see, because I've had conversations too, and I've asked, kind of explaining what you just brought up, and maybe some others explaining their thoughts in that same manner with the same thoughts. It's like, did you still think you'd be in wait and see mode going into year 4? When Dan Mullen was hired, did you still think it'd be, well, I don't know if it's going to work? I didn't. Like, I thought we'd have a pretty clear answer of where the program's heading. I still think it's heading in a good direction, but now I'm questioning if it's championship level, elite level. I don't think recruiting will ever get there. That's just the MO. I think it's rinse and repeat. That's just where recruiting is. And Dan Mullen's going to be the ultimate case study for how much you can weigh development and how much you can weigh recruitment.
Yeah. But the thing is, and I don't want to, qualify my own statement, but I'm going to. If I asked you this at the end of year 1, you would have said, absolutely. Great hire. We're moving in the right direction. End of year 2, absolutely. Moving in the right direction. But the year 3 ended the way it did, with the Oklahoma game being an embarrassment, with LSU being a jaw dropper. Like, what the heck just happened? And Alabama was a loss. It wasn't the worst loss. I'm one of those few people. I don't think that Florida had a chance to win that game. Everybody said, "Oh, we're 6 points," and I'm like, not so fast. Yeah. If we hadn't called that last timeout during the 2-point conversion, I don't think Nick Saban would have called the same plays he did, because we called that timeout. The game was effectively over, and Saban, you could see him on the sideline. He was like cheering. So the game, it was closer than it seemed. And, we should thank Nick Saban for that, because I think he could have made it seem a little more rough had that not happened. But anyway, now it's a qualifier. I mean, last year was it was a weird year. It was a weird defense. It was everything. I mean, can we even use it as a gauge for where Dan is heading?
Want more Gators Breakdown? Join Gators Breakdown Plus. Starting at $3 a month, get access to unique episodes, plus a blog, chat room, giveaways, shout-outs, and more. Gators Breakdown Plus is furthering the interaction with fans and listeners like you. Head to gatorsbreakdown.supportingcast.fm to join Gators Breakdown Plus today.